Hey, you guys. Wow, I'm back again. I'm saying it kind of like that because this is the second video I've done in one day. So I wasn't even planning on doing this except for my mom. So I blame her. No, it was a good thing because she actually called me and we were just talking just like we normally do. And she asked me about what I thought about the whole Bill Cosby thing and situation or whatever. And so it got me thinking, I shared my thoughts on that and all that. So I figured out why not? Let me just go ahead and just kind of record what I was just sharing with her so that we can kind of, it's just something to put out there, something to think about. But I do believe it's something that a lot of people are missing with this. And I believe that Felicia Rashad pretty much nailed it in this interview I'm about to play. And so what I'll do first is let me just go ahead and play parts of the video of this interview, and unfortunately it's not a full video. This is from Entertainment Tonight. So, they had to cut a lot of things out, and I'll stop it as she's talking, and I'll add my 2 cents, and then we'll continue on with the video.
To disrupt 3 comedy concerts in Canada starting tonight. Now there's Mrs. Huxtable going on the record.
Yeah, tonight's top story, more Cosby crash and burn. Will his TV wife stand by her man?
You were on the set with him for more than a decade, working very closely with him. At no time did you ever see anything inappropriate?
What I saw was fun. Never anything inappropriate. What I saw was work and play at work and fun. Mrs. Cosby was a frequent visitor to the studio. She was there a lot. That's what I saw.
Now, I'm going to stop it there for a second. And it's very possible. I mean, that's true. I would think that's true because, again, Bill Cosby was around the... let me just stop for a second here before I go right into this. And I'm going to make it very plain and very clear, and then maybe I'll have to speak slow so people will get what I'm saying. I am in no way, defending what Bill Cosby was accused of doing. He even, from what I understand and what I saw, Bill Cosby is even joked about drugging, women, putting roofies or whatever in their drink and all that stuff. And so he's even joked about some of this stuff. And in a court of law, from what I understand, he's also admitted to at least some of it. So if, in fact, there is truth to this stuff, I do believe, as the word says, that your sins will ultimately find you out. I'm in no way, shape, or form defending his actions if these actions were, in fact, true and valid. And from what we're seeing, at least some of it is. I can't defend that. I don't care if you black, white, it doesn't matter. I don't defend that. Yah doesn't defend that at all. You know what I'm saying? So the mistreatment of women like that, taking advantage of women and all that stuff, I don't defend that at all. That Cosby has to stand on his own. And like all of us, he's going to have to stand and give an account for the deeds done in his body. Okay, so I'm not defending that. And the reason why I have to take time with this is because people in this exerted thinking world that we live in, people will hear just a couple of minutes of the video and they will immediately assume that somehow, oh, you're just defending him and all that, and just go off in this whole rant, and you're not hearing my complete thought on this. So that's why I want to make sure before I begin that I'm being very clear. In no way, shape, or form am I defending that. Because if, in fact, like I said, from what it looks like, at least some of it is true, then anything, like someone says, if you do the crime, you got to do the time. I mean, if that's just how it works. You understand? So I can't defend that, and neither should anybody else. And with that being said, let me get right into what I was getting ready to say here at this portion. Now, what Felicia Rashad was saying, it makes total sense to me. It's very plausible. because if someone is living that kind of lifestyle where they're hitting on different women and all this other stuff, there's a high probability he's not going to bring that on the set where you got a bunch of children. I mean, come on. I mean, the fact that they even asked this is ridiculous to me. And, well, like with Felicia Rashad, at least what she's saying here, I never saw any of that, you know. Now, let's get a little bit more now. Maybe did she hear rumors or anything like that? Now that I don't know. I can't account for that. Only she can account for that. But as far as what she is saying, what she saw on the set, I mean, it's very plausible. I mean, what do you think? He came to the set butt naked or something? But anyway, so let's continue on the in the video here.
Felicia Rashad, Bill Cosby's TV wife for more than 8 years, is finally speaking out. She tells ABC News correspondent Lindsay Davis she learned about the claims against Cosby along with the rest of the world.
I can't even speak to those things and don't want to.
The sit-down airing on ABC News came just hours after Rashad was quoted on the website Showbiz 411, where it sounded like she was implying there was some sort of plot against Cosby. Here's the purported quote. "Forget these women. What you're seeing is the destruction of a legacy, and I think it's orchestrated. I don't know why or who's doing it, but it's the legacy."
That was a misquote. And that is not what I said. What I said is this is not about the women. This is about something else. This is about the obliteration of legacy.
The only one who could salvage.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop with that. But at that point, I believe she hit the nail on the head that this is all about attacking legacy. Now, as I said earlier, unfortunately, part of Bill Cosby's legacy is, the stuff that he's admitted to, at least, is that stuff as well. Okay, so that's very true, and we understand that. But when I sit down and I think about the part of his legacy that, for us and you, for me, you, my family, and many others out there, not just here in the States, but all around the world, that gave us a glimmer of hope as it relates to the portrayal of the black family, so-called black family. The Cosby Show was a wonderful show, and it provided a lot of great childhood, not only childhood memories for me and for others, but it also gave us something to aspire to, at that age. I could think about I think about the relationship that, at least on the show, how he portrayed his wife as, how Felicia Rashad, the role she played, and how they kind of bounced off of each other. I mean, there was nothing derogatory. He didn't come home always pissed off, frustrated, like Good Times or something like that. Like, James Evans coming home and then Florida got to kind of calm him down and all this stuff. I mean, he had his ups and downs just like everybody else, but they, for the most part, were a very functional family that was doing extremely well. They had a great relationship with their children. They were living in a nice community. And they kind of for the most part, got along with their neighbors. Their children, they were able to provide them not only a good environment to grow up in, but also they could send them to nice schools. And Bill Cosby also made a point to kind of promote HBCUs. He would wear the shirts and all that kind of stuff. And so he used the platform to really promote black culture in a very, very wonderful light, because what we were seeing on television as it relates to the black family up to that point, with, give or take of maybe a few examples that were there, but the Cosby Show by and large was probably the greatest example, at least that we had on television, where the black family, the so-called black family, was portrayed in a wonderful light. And like I said, it really captivated my generation, at least, in such a way that it gave us something to aspire to. So it was very powerful. It was a powerful show. And like even how Bill Cosby on the show, how he interacted with his wife, that's what I was trying to get to. You know, I would look at that and like, man, you know, I would like to have a wife like that. You know what I mean? And then you see the kids and some of the things and how he interacted with his kids. I think about the the episode where he caught Theo. He found out that Theo was smoking weed and how he handled that situation. You know, he didn't just kick down the door and just go buck wild and all that kind of stuff, but he was firm. It was a little bit of comedy, but he was firm and got the point across, you know. And I know for myself, I appreciated that, you know, because again, when you think of the black man and how he raises his child, we raise our children, how it's portrayed, not the reality, but at least how it's portrayed, it was nothing like what you would see on the Cosby Show, you know. And again, it was something that, now I'm not saying that we should all aspire to be like people on television because it's all fake. Okay, so I do understand that difference. Okay, I get that completely. But everything up to that point that we were seeing on television was simply reinforcing a lot of the stereotypes of the black family. You know, we are striving and barely making it. The black man is always angry, frustrated, can't get things that ever work for him, you know, and just all over the place. I mean, think of some of the shows, Sanford and Son, like I said, Good Times. What was the other one? I mean, they always had us working, you know, the man, he's like working, maybe he's a cop or maybe he's a trash man or something like that. But here you had an example where you had a black man, he's a doctor, and the wife was a lawyer, and you know, the kids were just, for the most part, were very good kids. And that was a shock to the world because they were like, you mean to tell me that actually exists? Yeah, it does. You just never heard about it. And I even remember back then when the Cosby Show was really starting to catch on, just in the very early days, I remember hearing different black folks being critical about the show, especially in the early stages, because they were like, there ain't no black family ever like that. You ain't gonna find a black family with a doctor as a husband and the wife is gonna be a lawyer and all that. They just trying to be white. And that, I remember that whole argument, that whole discussion. That was like in the very early stages of the internet, like the America Online, for those who remember those days. Discussions and stuff like that, where people would just, and even on like talk radio, local radio, people would call in and be making all these accusations like that. And it was simply because black folks at that time, it was almost like we had been so indoctrinated not to believe that we can aim higher and actually be successful. So when we finally did see something, you had a significant number of black folks who rejected it and thought, oh, they're just trying to be white or something like that. But you know, as we're strolling down this memory lane here, I'm just, you know, you and I, we both have very, very good memories of the show. And it wasn't just a show for us. It gave us at least something to aspire to. You know what I'm saying? Not so much to aspire to be a doctor, not so much to aspire to be have a wife as a lawyer. Not necessarily that, but it gave us a glimmer of an aspiration that, wow, we can actually have this kind of stuff. We can actually have live in a nice community. You know what I mean? And that kind of stuff, because everything the world was telling us was opposite. So when you have these younger people coming up and all they're being reinforced, like you think about today, what's being reinforced to them over and over and over again? It's this foolishness that's in hip hop music, you know, on television, music videos. All that stuff is being reinforced to them. That is everything that the Cosby Show used to speak against. You know, I mean, he would deal with it from time to time, but you know, he would, by and large, the Cosby Show was a total opposite of what we're seeing today. Not only in television, but in film, in music, and all that. It was a total opposite. It also gave, he touched on hip hop, but I remember he was, you know, because Bill Cosby was always known to be a jazz fan. So he would always have like the old school jazz people on there, you know, playing the music and all that kind of stuff. And it opened the doors up for the younger people. Wow, let me check out jazz. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't, and the reason why I'm mentioning that is because jazz, it's more of a thinking genre, so to speak. When you think about this hip hop and a lot of stuff that's being pushed through hip hop today, it's this lazy, can't mush mouth stuff, ain't talking about nothing, you know, saying I'm gonna hit this girl, I'm gonna do this and that and all this other stuff. But when I'm sitting down and I just think about the show itself and what it meant, it pushed nothing but positive for the so-called black community, and it gave us something at least to aspire to. And when I think about, and so with all that being said, then we got to start asking. Then we have to go back to, what Rashad, what she was saying, that this was about his legacy. Now, what does she mean by that? Why in the world then, you know, even though, like I said, the stuff he did was wrong and we've already covered that, then why pull his shows? Why pull the Cosby Show off the air? In fact, when this stuff first started coming out, they did pull it off. I think it was on several networks. I can't recall at this moment, but I believe it was even on Netflix. It may have been on Hulu. I'm not sure, but it was on some other. I'm trying to think of I think it was Nick at Night, something like whatever that network is. They used to play the Cosby Show. They immediately pulled it off. Well, somewhere down the line, I think the network Bounce TV. Either they picked it up or they were already playing it. Not sure. But as of this recent ruling where Cosby was found guilty of, you know, basically taking advantage of this lady, the network Bounce TV pulled the Cosby Show off. They pulled it off the air. And so I started asking, so I guess the first question I have with this is, yes, what he did in his own time was wrong, but how in the world does that relate to the actual show? Now, people may say, well, you know, he was getting money off of it. Well, we're going to get to that in a moment. But I want to stop and think about this for a second. How is it with all that, what I just said, when we're going down, as we went down memory lane just for a little bit, talking about how this show, how a positive impact it was in our community, why pull the show off the air? You know, that show had absolutely nothing to do. It didn't promote taking advantage of women. It didn't promote any of the things that he's been accused of at all. It was 110% pro-black family. That's what the show was about. So why take that off the air? So anyway, if you look at this article here, it says the network similarly pulled the disgraced comedian's other sitcom Cosby from the air in 2015. Now, he did another show after the Cosby Show, and it was based on him being much older, and that was kind of more of I can't remember all of it. I think I saw like 1 or 2 episodes, quite honestly, but by that time I had kind of tuned out of regular television anyway. But the show, again, it was nothing from what I can see and what I know about it. Again, there was nothing in the show that promoted any of the things that he was accused of. So again, why pull the show off the air? And how in any way does that perpetuate this shameful part of his personal life? You know? So anyway, this show here, so they said basically it was on Bounce TV. Then when the verdict came out, this article is basically saying that Bounce TV basically made the decision to go ahead and to pull off the show. So go to Wikipedia and let's find out Bounce TV. They said Bounce TV is an American digital multicast television network that is owned by Katz Broadcasting. It's owned by, but I should have read that backwards. If we start here, it says the history. The network was founded on April 5th, 2011. The founding group and initial ownership team included Martin Luther King III, former mayor of Atlanta, Ambassador Andrew Young, and then Bo Young III, Ron Hardy, and Will Packer. So the founders of this network were all black. But somewhere down the line, just like a lot of this other stuff, I guess they got in some trouble, financially. And eventually it got bought by Katz Broadcasting. Okay. And if you need any other clues, this is the executive, Jonathan Katz. Okay. A Jew, another Jewish person. Remember, I did the whole series about Jews and how they could not only control Hollywood, but they control the messaging that is put out from Hollywood. And so there may be a few of y'all are wondering, well, why is that so significant? Why are you bringing that out? So what? Okay, we're going to bring these pieces together. Here's the thing that I find very interesting about all of this. And by seeing this, you kind of know where I'm going with this. What I find very interesting is that on one hand, Jewish controlled Hollywood apparently could not stand and was so disgusted by the accusations of Bill Cosby towards these women that they had to pull all the Cosby shows. One show. But keep in mind, again, as I'm talking, it wasn't just a show for us. It was something that was very powerful, particularly for the so-called black family. It's very powerful. But it was just a one half-an-hour show. But as soon as the rumors start coming out, remember, they immediately start pulling episodes off. They pulled the show. There were networks that were showing the show. They immediately start pulling it off. Then Bounce TV is the last one that, because of this verdict, they're the last ones that said we're taking it off too. But here you got Harvey Weinstein. Okay, you know the Me Too campaign? Well, that all started because of this man. And you got just about every what you call it, A class or whatever it is. Let's just say many leading ladies in Hollywood that have gone through his company have in some way, shape, and form have been had inappropriate contact with this man. I'll just leave it at that. That started the whole Me Too thing. All right. Remember all of that? Okay. Now, keep in mind, again, they pulled all the Cosby episodes off the air, right? You can't even, it's not being broadcast anymore. So let's use the same standard. So why not pull all these movies off? All these movies that have gone through, if you rent these movies today, unless they've done some fast editing, as soon as a movie comes on, the first thing you see is the Weinstein Group or the Weinstein Company that comes up. All of these movies that you see up here are all movies that came through his company. Okay? But yet, I haven't heard anybody make the suggestion that these movies should be pulled off because they're just so disgusted. And not only that, at the time of this recording, Weinstein is still strolling the streets of New York, last I heard. I heard they're trying to do something. But yet, again, all of these movies, not one person I've heard even made the suggestion that these movies should be pulled off the air. Now, where am I getting at? For one, again, go back to the series that I talked about with I forgot the title. I got to remember it. It's Israel's True Enemy on the Earth. If you listen to that, I break down all of this stuff as far as the media, politics, Hollywood, and the Jewish control of these things and how they have an impact on the perception of the so-called black family, the black man, the black woman, and all that. They control all of that. But you see the difference in treatment. Here you got Cosby, basically his legacy. They were after his legacy. What Felicia Rashad said was absolutely right. This is about not only destroying the legacy of a man, but it's about erasing any and all hope that the black family can actually be a functioning unit. This is what they, and I mean they, meaning these Jews who are controlled by the enemy, Satan, okay? This is what they're ultimately after. They want to destroy anything that will bring us hope. This is why I find it so laughable and sad at the same time that you have all these people protesting Hollywood. They need to have more black people leading men and leading ladies and all this other stuff. They don't care about you. Okay, this point of this video is not so much for you to add a log to your to the fires of anger in us. It's not. That's not the point. My point is that we need to understand that, yes, this is Mitzrayim. This is Egypt, modern day Egypt. And as much as some of us may complain and, you know, Hollywood ain't doing this and that for us and all that kind of stuff, and every now and then they may throw us a bone and give us a Black Panther or something like that. But at the end of the day, they don't care about you. They hate you. And what they did to the legacy, the good part of the legacy of the Cosby Show, proves that not only do they hate you, they hate the black family, the so-called black family. They hate it, and they want to see it destroyed. That's what this is all about. Because if they had such a tolerance, no tolerance when it came to the treatment of black, or rather women, you wouldn't come out with what's the movie called? Mr. Gray Will See You, whatever that's called. You know what I'm talking about. Where the whole movie is about sexual bondage and how this woman loves it. You wouldn't come out with a movie like that if you had such a low tolerance for that kind of stuff. If you so disgusted with that, all these movies that you see up here, just like the Cosby Show, they immediately snatched all of those shows off. And notice they took those shows off. They didn't take, from what I understand, A Different World is still on. Now, Different World, that was just a bunch of young people. It was a good show, and you know, it did, again, it presented a positive light to our young people. But it wasn't the family. What I'm talking about is the family unit. That is where the power is. And these people, they want to make sure they, just like those those drone missiles that we be sending out, they did a pinpointed target towards the black family, the Cosby Show portion of his legacy. They left A Different World alone because, see, A Different World, when you hold that up against many of the other shows that were out, it's really not that. It wasn't really that much of a standout. I mean, it was a good show, but the Cosby Show, it was the only show at that time where we saw a fully functional black family and how powerful they were, and the impact they had in the lives of people literally all over the world. But they left A Different World alone. They left that one alone because that wasn't really family there. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I just wanted to point this out to you, and I just thought it was a very interesting observation, at least, as you know, when I was talking to my mom about this. She's the one that kind of brought this up, and I just wanted to kind of piece it all together. And I had actually been thinking about this for a long time with the Cosby thing. But you notice how in the beginning I had to go through this long thing about, hey, listen, I'm not saying that, you know, I'm not defending what he allegedly did to these women and all. And the reason why I say that is because I remember a while back, and this is back in the days when I was on Facebook, what I just expressed to you guys, I kind of put in a post on Facebook, and this was like ages ago. And I know at least 1 or 2 women just went in on me. Like, I was being very clear. I said, listen, I'm not defending it. I'm simply saying, if you're going to raise that kind of standard on Cosby and say you don't have any tolerance for this kind of behavior, then I can go down a list of all kinds of people in Hollywood who have similar accusations, but they're still making movies. That's all I was saying. But these people just went in on me, didn't want to hear that part of what I was saying, and simply wanted to kind of, in the land of make-believe in their own brain, wanted to make it seem as if I was saying I'm defending him just across the board. You know what I'm saying? So that certainly wasn't the case. But people, at the end of the day, I don't care how slow you present yourself, you can put slides and everything else. Ultimately, people are going to hear what they want to hear. So I hope I was pretty clear with this video. You know, hey, I don't care who you are. You know, you don't treat people like that. You know, you don't, particularly our women, you don't do that, you know. And the things that Cosby is accused of doing, the things that he's somewhat admitted to, if he's done those things, then, hey, you got to pay for that. I mean, at the end of the day, I can't defend that at all. But what I will defend all day and all night is our families. And the Cosby Show did a wonderful job in presenting what the so-called black family should be. And it gave us something to aspire to. But at the end of the day, Jewish Hollywood wanted to destroy that. And they wanted to use his bad decisions privately as an excuse to get rid of his legacy, because they couldn't do a full frontal attack and pull it off. They had to go and dig up and pull up this stuff that he's supposedly had done and use that as an excuse to basically to eliminate this part of his legacy. Because you got Harvey Weinstein. If you felt that strongly about it, as I said, you would all these movies here, you would have pulled all of them. You would have pulled all of them. Because I think about even my own kids, and I'll leave off with this. You know, we've grown up with the Cosby Show, and then kind of, you know, and then went into reruns by the time, you know, I kind of grew up with Theo for the most part. And then I kind of, you know, when the show was over, it was done for me. You know, I would look at reruns every now and then, but that was it. But it was something to me seeing my son, you know, and then my daughter too, I guess. I guess this is before all this stuff came out about Cosby. They would show some of the shows on, I guess it was on television. I don't know what channel it was, but they wanted to see more of it. And so they approached my wife and they were like, hey, you know, Mom, you know, they were like, Mom, you know, we'd like to see more. And so my wife was like, why not? Let's just order all of them. So I guess she went on Amazon, ordered, I forgot how many seasons it came in with this pack that we ordered. And I remember it was a window of time where it was like back to back to back to back to back to back to back. They would sit down and just watch all the episodes and would laugh just like I would laugh. And I'm like, man, this stuff is old, but it was funny and they enjoyed it. And so it gave them something that they didn't see in regular television. They weren't seeing even on YouTube for that matter. And so to see now that legacy, not Bill Cosby's legacy, but the legacy of the black family is not only been attacked, but is being removed. I mean, think of all the kids out there who's now, they're not going to see that kind of stuff, at least on television. So that's why it's important for you and I, you know, for our families, for us to be the standard. We don't need television to be the standard for us. We don't need the Bill Cosbys and all that. Those are great examples, and those are great opportunities to show good examples of what a black family should look like. But I'm not interested in what a black family should look like. I'm more interested in what the black family, the so-called black family, should be, period. You know what I'm saying? So I want to spend more time investing in that and look at this more so as a challenge to us to start looking inward and let's build each other up. Let's build our families up. You know, I'm going to be doing, I'm going to close out the series I did on the, I talked about forgetting the stranger, forgetting the fatherless. And the last one we're going to do is forgetting the widow. So I'm going to be finished that one up hopefully this week. And if we can just focus on those things alone will make the Cosby Show look like nothing. Because even though it's impactful and positive, the Cosby Show was, at the end of the day, what Yah has established for us to do as Hebrews when it comes to taking care of our own and taking care of the stranger and all that, that is the real deal. That is what I want to invest in. But I figured, I just saw this particular case here, and I figured I would just comment on it because I found it to be very interesting that they would attack the Cosby Show and pull that off, but leave the A Different World, leave that on. And the reason why they attacked the Cosby Show is because it dealt with the family. And that is what they want to attack. That is what they hate. The Bible says Satan comes not but to steal, kill, and destroy. That's what he wants to do. And he's using these demonic Jewish folks, I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it, who control Hollywood to do just that. And so just thought I'd share those few thoughts with y'all. And if you, like I say, when many of my videos, if you found this video to be helpful, all I ask simply is you share it. Rather if you like it or not, I don't really care about it. But if you've been helped by it, just share it. But thank you so much for taking the time. And until next time, I see you again. And may Yah bless you and keep you.